IVM.
Hi everybody, just wanted to ask everyone for a quick favor. We're running a brand survey right now and would really appreciate it if you could let us know what you think about the advertising on IVM. Go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and do let us know. As part of this, we'll be selecting 10 random participants and sending them some IVM swag, so do fill out those surveys.
This is Storytellers and Storysellers live on tape. You're listening to me, Vineet Kanabar, on the IVM Podcast Network. All this month, we've been talking to amazing emerging independent musicians, and this is the 4th episode in that sequence, and I am delighted to be joined by Peekay on this episode. For those of you who don't know, will soon find out about Peekay. She's someone who's been doing music for a long time. 12 years is what she told me. But she's been releasing music under the name Peekay for the last 2. And it's a testament to how catchy her music is that I've got her latest song, You Don't Have to, stuck in my head for the past 3 or 4 days. Peekay, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking time out.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Give us a whirlwind introduction to what your 12 years of music have been like. I know there's history of you being part of a band that had to change their name because you were more successful than the eponymous, is that the word? Yeah. Band in the UK. Tell us all about that.
Okay, so 12 years. Okay, I'm a very young 29-year-old. I started playing when I was 17 years old. Before that, I was like playing the guitar. My parents were always like into rock and roll and stuff. So I used to always see their cool friends at Christmas parties playing the guitar. So since I was really small, I was like, I want to play the guitar. So I started playing and just taught myself off YouTube and just kept singing. And started playing these little pub gigs, in Hyderabad. There was Extreme Sports Bar that was my favorite, everyone's favorite.
Right.
And I just went from pub gig to hotel gig to pub gig to hotel gig until I got really sick of it. And as everyone does at some point. And I was writing so much music because I was constantly upset with my life. So I was writing all this really dark music. So I was like writing all this music. And then I played it. I played some of these songs once. So we used to organize gigs as much as I used to play them. I used to organize a lot of them too. And we got the family cheese down once. And so Johan and Lala were at our house after this and, with this typical after party session. And I just took out the guitar and started playing for them. And Lala says to me, these are really good songs. You should come chill with me in Bombay and I'll help you just put it together, because I didn't have a clue about production, nothing.
Right.
So I just took off, went to Bombay, spent like 4 or 5 days with him. We tracked a bunch of songs, and I came back to Hyderabad and put together the Ragamuffins, and that's how the original music scene began for me when I was 21 years old. And then after that, I just never went back. I kept playing my music. And I love playing my songs because I loved how much people could relate to the story. So I ended up that's why I love the name of your show, because it's Storytellers, and that's like literally exactly what I do. I tell a lot of stories. So yeah.
Wonderful. And we're glad to have you on Storytellers and Storysellers. Does Hyderabad have a very thriving indie music scene? I'll tell you where I'm going to draw comparisons. I'm from Nagpur, which is 500-600 kilometers from Hyderabad.
Yeah,
I've been there multiple times, and doesn't look like a city that shouldn't have an indie music scene. It feels like it should be really thriving. And but tell us the facts of the case.
So it actually has a really good indie scene. It's just that, how Hyderabadis are, yeah? They're like really chill, and they'll be like, I've written a song, now I'm going to chill for some time. I don't know what to do. If I do something, I'll do something. If I don't, I don't. As opposed to a lot of other musicians around the country who are very driven. But then there's like this whole new breed of musicians, there's Siddharth Bendy, and there's like a bunch of other bands that are like watching all this music around the country and being inspired by it. And now they're making all these moves to kind of get their music out there. So now there is actually a huge burst of indie musicians from this city, and they're doing really well. There's Rinki Sharma came out with a song lately, beautiful song. Vani Shri Sahu came out with a song. Like I said, Siddharth Bendy. And there's a lot of metal here as well. I mean, Godless is from Hyderabad. And And then we also have a lot of techno. And I think the thing is that Tollywood has taken its precedence over here.
Right.
So like the Tollywood bands are like a lot bigger.
Right.
And the techno scene here is solid right now. So so wear a little like, like wear that little leaf of lettuce at the bottom of the sandwich that adds its pizzazz, but no one really cares about it. But so we're there, but we're not like out there so much.
No, we care, man. It's not like no one cares. I mean, not about lettuce, but about the music for sure. PK, tell us about the stuff that you've been releasing, man. Good Old Fashioned In Love was your first single, right? 2020. Was it a lockdown release or you had something brewing before?
It was brewing for a year. I was working on this for a year before this with Jonathan Wesley, who's in Bangalore. And then I just took my time over it because I was so scared about coming out as a solo artist. And I was trying to study how to do this properly. And I had this amazing close friend of mine, Dhruv, who works for Snakes and Ladders in Canada. And he was giving me all this advice. And I just ended up releasing it in 2020 lockdown. But yeah, the song is very cute. It's the cutest song I've ever released because up until then I was singing all this rock music which was about death. So this was the first time we'll talk about that. This was the first time I actually released like a really happy song. And it was about, I wanted it to be relatable.
Right.
I didn't want it to be like very big English words, deep, dark and scary like I was used to writing before that. So I made it very simple. I'm a good old fashioned in love. And I kept it about, I had actually right before that gone through a very difficult divorce, very young. And, gone through a whole lot of difficult stuff, And this was the first year in my life where I was actually genuinely happy. I was in love with myself, my life, I had even found love again. And I was just talking about just being happy. Everyone's struggling to be happy so hard. And I had this glimmer, this beautiful year. And unfortunately, it was like when lockdown happened and I was just happy and I wrote the song. So yeah, it's been happy music since then.
Wonderful. But forget all that. Tell us about the metal times, yeah? I'm joking.
Yeah, there were solid metal times.
But I don't want to talk as much about the music as much as I want to talk about what you were doing in Hyderabad. Now, I'll share some of my experience and you can sort of tell me about this from your perspective as well. Right? Way back when, right now, this is ancient history in my life as well. Musicians tend to be the people who are also organizing gigs in small cities in India, right? Like way back when in Nagpur, we had a band and we had I think we had 10 bands in all of the entire city and all of us were it's a very incestuous circle, right?
Yeah.
I will organize a gig for you, then you organize a gig for me, then we will all play together and there'll be 30 people in the audience and we'll all, go back home feeling like, wow, today we've just played Woodstock, right?
Yeah.
Was that the experience there as well?
So, actually, I would say, it was maybe till about 2013, 14, where all of the musicians were organizing these fun events. Like even so my ex-husband and I had this amazing it was like a thing called Mad Parrot. And we organized these gigs and we got a bunch of bands. We got Scrat once, we got Family Cheese, one of our favorites. We got F-16s down and we did like versions of this.
Right.
So it was us musicians. My band would also play. We'd open for the headlining act. So it was a little incestuous that way in the sense of the cooler gigs that would happen were organized by us. But now you have all the venues and you have managers and you have all of that. So now it's sorted because the venues are more intelligent also. They know, okay, this band, let's organize this, let's organize that. So it's a little different. It's much different now.
That's great, man. I think the internet has made a huge difference, right? There's heightened awareness, heightened know-how about how to do this as well.
Yeah.
Let me ask you actually a couple of follow-ups on that, right? You've been involved in curating spaces. I read about you doing a space called Giggle Water a few years ago, which was like an inclusive performance space, if I'm reading this correctly. Tell us a little bit more about that, how that came about.
So I was... one of my very first gigs was at Olive. Okay, I was this little singer-songwriter playing in the corner in Olive. And the owner of Olive Hyderabad is actually a very close family friend. And as I, grew up, I would say, and started to come into my own, and I'd opened my own design firm and all of that, they were like, okay, you know what? She can probably manage another property of ours, a small property, but we can give it to her to do something.
Mhm.
So I was a partner with this speakeasy that they opened right above Soda Bottle. It's called Giggle Water,
Mhm.
and it's a proper speakeasy. Like there's a secret door you have to go up, and on back in the day you had a password and all. And I was playing with all these kick ass old timers. We were a proper jazz band at this time, and I had a hotel gig. There's this gentleman named Dennis Powell and myself,
Mhm.
one of Hyderabad's oldest pianists. And I said, you know what, jazz is dying, and I need to keep it alive somehow. I want to educate people in Hyderabad about jazz. So I started this little jazz scene on Fridays in Giggle Water, and it became like a cult, like people would come and there'd be people swing dancing and jiving, and it was amazing. And then one of my closest friends, Vaibhav, he said, you know what, this place is so nice. My LGBTQ community people don't have anywhere like this, like they can just go and be themselves.
Mhm.
So I said, come on, let's start one thing. We started Rainbow Nights on Sundays.
Right.
And so it was an exclusive party for the community. So people would come in their makeup, in their dresses, they'd be happy, just being themselves, they'd dance, they'd enjoy that party. And we said, why should it only be Sunday? We'll be the only inclusive. You wear your makeup dresses how you want to come any time of the week. So it became one of Hyderabad's only properly, openly inclusive spaces. So yeah, that was been pretty cool to see that grow in Hyderabad.
That's wonderful. And what was the general response like? I mean, coming in from even places like Shiro in Bombay, right? And Shiro is like a lovely space, and all pretenses to be like, oh, we've got like the best sushi in town and all of that, and then they won't let people from the community in and discriminate. It's really strange, right? Even in a city like Bombay, what was the response like in Hyderabad when you put this together?
It was good. I mean, we had a lot of raised eyebrows, obviously, and even for us to, a lot of the transgender community started to feel sidelined because they felt like we were afraid of them if they wanted to walk into the bar. So we had to, there was so much of communication and effort on Vaibhav's side, who started curating these nights, where he had to tell people, no, you just come. And we had to educate the staff that, this is how you talk, this is how you behave, these are words you don't use. So it became like an educational thing for everybody. Yes, there was a lot of people saying, look at what they're doing, and it's become like one sex bar and just talking nonsense. You know how people are. But all in all, it was received very well because people said, they're doing something progressive. And for Hyderabadis, because we're so set in our ways, to do something progressive, something different, everybody is very appreciative of it, thankfully. So it's been nice.
That's so good to hear, man. Yeah. And I'm sure it wasn't as breezy as you let on. I'm sure there were challenges and stuff there. But net, if it's a overall net positive, then I think something good came out of it, right? I've also read that you're a 2-time TEDx speaker.
Yeah,
so much talent, my God. What were your TEDx's about?
One was about songwriting, and I gave that with the band. We were talking about one specific song that I'd written, which was about my grandpa who fought in the Gorkha regiment.
Right.
And so he was, he had this cookery that still had like bloodstains and all on it. And he used to tell us these really cool stories about war. And there was a very sad story about how my grandma, when she was back home, and my mom and her family lived a little outside Hyderabad. And he, it was always this stress and this tension about when he was out there, obviously, and so much of worry, and so many sad stories and letters that used to come back home, and my mom used to tell us all these stories, and my grandpa also tell me. So the song was about the story of war, and it was my dialogue based on all of the stories my grandpa told me, and how there are women waiting for their husbands to come back from war, how there are children dying, innocent people who are just like their gut spilling out of them. Literally, he used to tell us these kind of stories, and I was angry. It was also very slightly political. There's this big monologue. The song is on Spotify if you want to listen to it. So it's this big monologue on how these men are the ones who are going and fighting. All of the people in power are sitting at home and having their mithai, like it's really I was angry when I wrote the song. So we did this TED talk about songwriting in general and about how you can tell a story through dialogue, but it'll also relate to you. if you listen to the monologue that I've written, you'll also feel angry. You'll be like, yeah, like my family also has struggled in its own ways, while all of these people that I'm paying taxes to are enjoying their lives, So like that. Second one was also about storytelling, but not on this front. It was more on the, it wasn't with the band. It was me individually as Peekay. That was last year. And it was about more on the relationship front, because I've done a lot of talking about relationships, types of relationships, abuse, domestic violence, all of that. So that was the second one that I did. Yeah.
Wonderful, man. I mean, so cool to find a storyteller who's also deeply involved in sharing know-how about that storytelling. Speaking of relationships and stories about relationships, You Don't Have To.
Yeah.
Your latest new song that is now also on VH1. I saw you go live eating your lunch while the song played on TV, which was all kinds of indie. But how does it feel, man? Is this the first time something you've put together is on TV, or have you been that or that?
I've been on TV before, but this is the first time my work of art, because this video was such a fun work of art and a proper Hyderabadi talent collaboration. I was very happy that this was on VH1, And I was standing there and eating my lunch and just like my dosa chicken curry and enjoying watching this moment happen before my eyes, because you work so hard, all your life, and you just see these small little glimmers of hope that, yeah, man, like it's being seen now. So I was just really happy. I was just happy.
It's wonderful, and big congratulations to you for
Thank
that.
you.
I think it's great to see channels waking up to the great art that is being made in India and putting it out there. And I mean, it's also good to see that they're not waiting for it to get to 500,000 views and only then they're like, oh no, now we're going to put it up.
Yeah.
I know I've had my struggles putting music on TV.
Yeah.
Way back when. Oh, lots, right? I mean,
what kind of music did you play?
Oh, not my music. I used to sing way back when.
Okay.
But I've worked with musicians a long time, right? When I was at TVF, for example, we were trying to get all of TVF's music and songs on TV, and it was a big stretch, right? Even though all of these songs have like 500,000, 1 million views already organically put together, and there's a lot of traction. TV channels have their own sort of resistance to all of this. And it's great to see that that's at least changing a little bit.
Absolutely. Like VH1, like props to VH1, man. Seriously. Yeah.
For sure. Let me ask you this, right? And this is the part where we talk about the business of being an artist as well, right? How much has getting the right management really helped you? When did you get management on board, and how much has that really helped, right? I'd love to get your notes, and especially for young musicians or young people in the creative arts trying to make it or trying to break through. I'd love to get your notes on how management has helped.
It's helped me tremendously. I can't even put it into words. So after I released earlier this year, I put out a song called Much Better, and right after we put the song out, I got my manager Rani on board, and
shout out to Rani.
Shout out to Rani. She's absolutely amazing. Like she learned about what I was trying to do as an artist. She did all the right things for my music. Up until this release, I had not had that. I was doing it all by myself, and like a headless chicken. I had good advice from, like I was telling you, my friend Dhruv, who works for Snakes and Ladders, which is a label in Canada. He would tell me like what to do. But I felt so alone. It's because you're all alone. You don't know who to reach out to, who's going to listen to you, And she said, no, you know what? I see promise in this. I'm taking this up. And she just took it and she just made it fly. Like I saw that with You Don't Have To. And it's very important to have the right management, because you can't do everything on your own. You can't make the music. You can't do everything on your own. You need help. So, yeah.
Love it. Is there advice that you would have for young musicians about going about picking the kind of management that they should be working with? I mean, any notes that you have?
I think that you should always pick somebody that you can relate to. I think it helps that Rani's a woman. And for me, was as a woman who's, talking so much about so many things that matter, she could relate. So if you can relate to the person and also make sure that the person has credibility, that they have done, look at what they've done before, see their methods of working, because there are some managers who are just so commercial. They'll throw you into anything and everything and make you do things that you're very uncomfortable with. And I think I am really lucky that I have Rani, who understands what I'm comfortable doing, but she still makes me do things that I have to do that artists are a little reserved. Yeah, they don't like doing so many things. Like, no, I don't want to look like that or do that or whatever. But she's makes me step out of my comfort zone just a little bit, and I've started to see how much that benefits me.
Wonderful. I think words to live by for emerging artists. Find someone who has credibility, someone you can relate to, someone who doesn't treat you like a workhorse, maybe.
Yeah.
In that sense. On that note, I'm going to go into a quick break. We will come back on the other side of this break and talk to Peekay about the wonderful, conceptual, lovely looking music videos and the really catchy music that you make and where it comes from.
Awesome.
Back after this break on Storytellers and Storysellers. Yes, that's the name of the show with Peekay.
$100. That's all it takes to begin your journey with Bitcoin and Ethereum. No, really. With CoinSwitch, you can start investing in over 100 cryptocurrencies with just 100 rupees. On top of that, there are zero charges for deposits and withdrawals, so you can trade, buy, sell, however and whenever you want. All of this, plus their extremely intuitive interface, makes CoinSwitch the perfect app for beginners in the crypto space. But don't take my word for it. Just download CoinSwitch for free and try it out for yourself. If you'd like more information on cryptocurrencies, tune into a show about crypto with me, Rohan Joshi, my new adventure on IVM podcasts. CoinSwitch, kuch to badlega.
Back on Storytellers and Storysellers, we're talking to Peekay about amazing conceptual music videos and really catchy music. Peekay, we'll talk about You Don't Have to a little bit more. I just love the music video, right?
Thanks.
It's bright, it's pink, it's funny, it's cute. And I mean, the song's catchy as hell. Like I said at the top of the show, that it's been stuck in my head. You don't have to all throughout.
Yeah.
Right? Tell us about putting the video together, man. How did that happen? Who did you work with? Was it something that was brewing in your head for a while? How did that happen?
So I have been a huge fan of this one fashion label in Hyderabad called Cancelled Plans. And I really...
Great name.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. I think it's going to be my go-to fashion label. Even if they don't make clothes for men, I'm absolutely okay.
They do.
Oh, they do? Fantastic.
Yeah. Check them out.
Yeah, I will.
And the cool part about this label is that they make clothes out of factory rejected material. So like socks that just get thrown into a pile. And so like the jacket Eddie's wearing is made out of old socks, and even the frills and all of my collars, like stuff like that. So I really love the whole concept behind the label. And the owner of the label is sweetheart, Malika Reddy. She's amazing. Anyway, so I saw these outfits and I was like, I have to wear these outfits. And I had the whole storyboard in my mind because I'm a graphic designer. I'm always looking online at like cool stuff, and I wanted to experiment with 3D.
Right.
And one of my friends, Daniel Sharma, who's also on the team at my firm, he does amazing 3D work. And I said, dude, you have to model these sets for me because I have this story in mind. And we went to Melvin, who has Couch Potato Studios, and he had a lovely studio, green screen, everything. We sat and recorded it. It was directed by a friend of mine, Hari, who also was on the team when I shot Good Old Fashioned in Love. Anyway, so all this Hyderabadi team. And the song's been produced by one of my best friends, amazing producer, Eddie, Jonathan Edward. So him and I just went to the studio. We just sat in front of this green screen. We rehearsed our steps, like the funny little robotic puppety looking things. And we just shot the whole thing. And in post, Daniel put all the 3D bits behind it, and that was it. But the story is about this very practiced, boring ass performance between every couple that you'll always see.
Right.
It's you fight, you make up, you kiss, you break up. However, I've said it the wrong way. You fight, you break up, you kiss, you make up.
It's some variation of that, yes.
Yeah. So that's it. You same old, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. You go back to it. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. Yeah. And it's so boring and it's just so repetitive, and you're so invested in this relationship. You've invested so much of time and you're too tired to even leave this relationship. You know what I mean? So that's what the song's about. And so at some point, especially when you're like reaching your 30s and you're tired of dating, you're like, no, you know what? I have a good thing going over here. Everyone messes up. You don't have to keep apologizing. Let's move on. Let's focus on the good times. Like I say, I love that you call me your little girl, and I love that you care all the time and all of that. And you don't have to keep apologizing because you messed up in 2018. So
Love it.
that was it. Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I mean, and now it sort of makes sense to me even more when you say you're running a design firm as well. There is a sort of conceptual, I won't call it high art because what is high art anymore?
Yeah.
Right. But there is a certain conceptual streak in your music videos, right? I think Much Better as well came with a very distinctive look, came with a very sort of, does this come into your head fully formed or what's the process there like? Marrying your music to the visuals, to the lyrics, does it all sort of appear in an epiphany, or is it something that you gradually build in your head? How does the process work at Peekay?
I love mood boards because my entire career has been based on making mood boards. So I have the idea. I've written the song, I know the story. I know the vibe, the emotion that I get when I've sung the song. So I go online, I put these mood boards together, and I find the right people that I know that can make this vision come to life. And I'm directing it so much that I make sure that everything that's happening is matching this mood board. Right. And the story is being told properly. So yeah, it's always pre-thought, it's planned very thoroughly and then executed. And we always give the team enough time, like take your month and a half to like edit it, aaram se, no hurry, take your time. Otherwise, you don't want a half-baked product. And yeah.
No, I'm sure that's music to your own ears from a designing perspective. No,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Time lele, koi tension.
Yeah.
Do it arams. Like as opposed to clients being like, no, I want it yesterday, man. What is happening?
Because I have those clients at my back all the time, right. Dude. I'm like, I'll be nice to everyone else.
That's a streak I'm seeing, the niceness streak in Peekay as well, right? Tell us about your day job, man. I mean, obviously, you're using a lot of the influences and the skills and the networks that you have in your day job in here as well. What's that like? What do you do when you're not making awesome music?
So I have a firm called The Whole Shebang, and we're a lovely team of 9 people, and we do, graphic design websites, UI, UX, that kind of thing. So we meet up at the office. There's always music playing. There's always lots of jokes. They'll play cricket sometimes inside the office. But we still get our work done. And then food is always a big part of TWS. We like our shawarma, and like we'll sit and have our time of conversation at lunch and our chai and all of that. And it's good. It's amazing to be around young talent that has so much potential. And my whole goal with TWS is to just equip all of the people that I work with the confidence to go out there and be bigger than they are. Your goals can start at TWS, but you should be dreaming New York City. I always tell them this, and I'm like, you know what? Let's learn from each other. So even interns that come on board, I'm like, come, we'll train you. We'll teach you how to use all the softwares. You use my softwares also. If you don't have your own software, come use my laptop, whatever. And we've trained a lot of people, and they've gone on to have proper day jobs. I'm trying to create employment for artists who don't know what to do with their talent, basically. So that's what TWS is all about. And I love my team. They're amazing.
That's so cool to hear, man. Was that something... I mean, was that kind of support something you received when you were younger as well? I know you mentioned your parents are big into music, but outside of that, was that something that happened for you too? Is it, or are you trying to fill in a gap that you see in Hyderabad, trying to realize the potential of the young people in the city and stuff like that?
So my first job was with an awesome studio. I'll give my ex-boss props for encouraging me. I wanted to be like that. It was at a studio called 17D North. And after that, I joined J. Walter Thompson, which is a much bigger, huger advertising agency. And I learned the difference between an indie firm and a full-blown like corporate environment. And I wanted to maintain the small indie firm vibe, because I feel like artists can only grow when they're given warmth and love and a space, not when they're like hammered down, like this has to come yesterday, like you can't grow, I feel. So I had actually started the firm with the guitarist of the Ragamuffins, Ricky Raymond.
Right.
And both of us were graphic designers, both of us struggling to find our footing. Are we big corporate kind of fellows or are we small indie kind of fellows? We were somewhere lost in between. And I said, no, you know what? We're going to stay true. And we started this firm, got our team together. Since then, he's moved on. He's gone completely into Christian ministry. And my partner, Zafar, and I, now we both run the firm and we have our team. And he was in J. Walter Thompson as well. So he knows, and he was in client servicing. And that is
man.
like proper, like, yeah, you get the rough end of it.
Absolutely.
So we both decided, let's make a safe, happy space where everyone's relaxed. You do your work. Yeah, you have to submit it on time. You might get yelled at once a week, but that's about it.
Once a week is better than many times a day, right? I think.
Yeah.
For sure. Right?
Yeah.
That's so good to hear, man. It's good to hear that as an ex-advertising person myself, I know your pain.
Really?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I still work in marketing. I don't do advertising anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just very happy about that in general in life.
I feel you.
But yeah, I think it is super important to take your learnings from the big firms and then know what not to do, at least, right? Going forward and putting stuff together, right?
Yeah.
Peekay, there's a certain breath of fresh air that you bring in when you talk about the work and the music that you put together. I want to ask you about the transition, right? And this is the part where we do talk about the death metal from before, right? I mean, 12 years is a long time to make music, right? It gives you insight into yourself. It gives you insight into the audience that you're going for. Give us your cliff notes on how you found what is your sound, right? Oh, that's rhyming unconscious there. But
you found your sound. Yeah, sorry.
Right? Put that in a song, yeah?
I should. I found my sound. Okay. So I always loved the singer-songwriter kind of. I was listening to so much of, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. And then on my own, when I was small, I became a big Avril Lavigne fan. And I'll give her credit. I love her. She was writing good music until she stopped writing good music. But anyway, so
that is when but at the time she married Chad Kroeger. I think that's the part, yeah.
Then they went downhill.
Do you know that there is a conspiracy theory that Avril Lavigne is actually dead and the person we actually see now is like a replica or a stand-in that they've put in there? There's like a full underground, internet underground theory about this.
Please send me this.
I will.
Oh God.
There's like comparisons about how her nose, the angle at which her nose is upturned is slightly different from what it used to be. And it's as if like all of these people haven't discovered plastic surgery, but it is.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. Hello.
It is what it is. But yeah, back to you. Yeah, back to your sound.
So Avril Lavigne, that's blown my mind. Anyway, so Avril Lavigne, yeah.
Do you want a moment?
I must digest this. Avril Lavigne, please don't be dead. Anyway, so she had this whole punk rock look about her, and I was an angsty kid, man. I hated school. I hated everything. So I also was writing songs about that. And then I started listening to Sepultura and Slipknot, and I was listening to Lamb of God, and I then got very heavy, like Opeth, when they were coming to India, and I was dating since I was 16 years old, and then went on to marry him, one of the biggest metal musicians in the country. So he was also a huge inspiration for me. Like I was so constantly inspired by him, and especially his drive towards music. Mm-hmm. So we were going for Animals as leaders when they came. We were going for Deccan Rock. We were always organizing metal gigs. I was listening to metal music all the time. I was writing very dark music. All of that happened. And slowly, after both of us parted ways, I started to come into my own because I had unknowingly kind of assumed his personality. Though I also have a very, angsty dark side to myself, and I love writing my songs about how we're all going to eventually die. But I also...
Which we are,
yeah. Let's think about it. Anyway, so I started to find the happy part of my life. I was like, chalo, okay, fine, let's sing about love and, butterflies and things. But I started to put my own spin on it, where I was in recovery within myself. Mm-hmm. And I started to talk to so many friends of mine who were also going through things and recovering from them, going through tough times, recovering from them. I said, let me sing about the recovery. I've sung so much about the past and the pain. Let me talk about the recovery. So I started singing about that. So yeah.
Wonderful, man. That's a very cogent trajectory and very well put as well. I mean, as we wind this up, let me talk to you about this really original segment that we do on the show. It's like really original. You've never heard of it before. It's called
Acha.
Water with Vineet. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Right. I mean, I don't drink much, so it can't be like wine with Vineet or whatever, but that's why it's Water with Vineet.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell me about 3 musicians that have really influenced you, contemporary. I mean, I know you told me about the Beatles and the Stones, and I think it's impossible to be a consumer or a producer of music without being influenced by either of those amazing bands. But yeah, first, wait, we'll come to your influences in a second. The Beatles or the Stones?
The Beatles.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Because you can sing those songs like you can stand in the shower. Anyone can sing those songs. If anyone can sing a song, I think it's a good song.
Fair, sure. All right. Now to your influences. I mean, 3 contemporary musicians that you feel like your sound is like, or you want to sound like, or you take inspiration from.
Definitely Mahalia, Sinead Hartnett, and Jacob Banks.
Wonderful. Where do you see your music going in the next few years?
I'm praying that live music becomes a thing again, and that we're doing, like NH7 Weekender type scenes. I see myself playing festivals, touring outside of India also. I'm putting this out into the universe. I'm going to be playing outside of India soon in the next few years.
Of course you are.
Amen.
Absolutely. I mean, I believe in this so much because I listen to a lot of new music, right? Like, I think last year on Spotify, I had 1,417 new artists that I listened to.
Jesus.
Right? And there's a certain, how do you say, identity to your music that comes through, right? And which I think is super important, right? And again, I'm taking nothing away from the singer-songwriter breed that we have, right? Coming through, right? But I think your music has a certain distinctiveness about it, a certain identity about it.
Awesome.
And of course, it's really catchy, right? That always helps. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're going to play outside very, very soon. And I hope that happens.
Inshallah.
3 lessons from Peekay's 12-year music career for artists to imbibe and learn from.
Don't sell yourself short. Charge what you charge, and then people will take you seriously. If you're a woman and you're playing a pub gig, always make sure that you keep yourself safe. And if somebody is misbehaving with you, that you alert some authority. Be true to yourself. Don't try and emulate somebody else's voice or their look or their appearance. Just be an original, and you will always be accepted and looked up to.
Wonderful. My last question for you is, where do you wish the scene goes in India? I mean, I'm prefacing this by saying that it has come a long, long way, right?
It has.
Indie is really having its moment.
Absolutely.
Back when we were creating, I mean, it's like ancient history. When I say back when, it feels like it's yesterday, but when I really think about it, it's 15 years ago. A lot of resistance, right? You sing in English and you sing like it sounds so accented. My own guitarist for that matter is a wonderful guy called Saurabh Datar, who is now a data journalist with the Boston Globe, which is insane, right? But I mean, one of the creative differences that him and I had was, why are we singing in English, and why do we sing with this accent, and why are we creating this music? But things have moved, right? There's such a moment that indie is having, whether it doesn't matter what language you're singing in, as long as it's catchy, well produced, there's an audience for it, right? So prefacing my question with all of this, where do you wish this scene goes next, right? And I'd love to get to hear your point of view on this, because you're not a Bombay or a Delhi person, right? I know what they're looking for, which is like paisa. Where do you wish the scene goes?
I really hope that the scene continues on the path that it's on right now, and that we get back to live, have more concerts, have more artists like Mali and all the amazing people in this country who are writing original music with a very unique sound. I hope that we keep going, like even Raghav Miatal and people like that. I hope bands like Scrat keep coming out with music. I just hope that we don't ruin this good moment. I hope it keeps going upwards from here, because we're good right now. Let's make it great.
Fantastic. With that breath of fresh air and with that optimistic note, we will bring this episode to a close. Peekay, thank you so much for spending time with us and talking us through your music. And I wish you all the very best.
And you?
Thank you so much. That's it from me on this episode of Storytellers and Storysellers. This has been Vineet Kanabar saying goodbye.
Bye.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. We have a new collaboration with Hunts Magazine, and there's a show called Hunts Wani that's come out from that. Treat yourself to Sarita Panti's beautiful ghazal, Dar Raha Hai Muskurane Se Koi, voiced by Jashn Kalam artist Shashwata Sharma. On Postcards from Nowhere, discover how two different systems on writing were developed, one in Kashmir and one in Kerala. Kunal and Shivani Rajput talk about fitness, entrepreneurship, sibling rivalry, and share their Raksha Bandhan plans on Agla Station Adulthood. Dr. Rajiv and Manik Deshmukh share the love story behind their 52-year marriage on Marathi Kirkitun. Chuck tells us about 5 lessons he's learned on The Habit Coach with Ashton. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any other show for that matter, please do tell a friend. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week, Siet, Cred, Bank of Baroda, Quarter, CoinSwitch, Kuber, and Intuit India. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Season 3 of Echoes of India, your favorite history podcast, is back on the IVM Podcast Network. I'm your host, Anirudh Kanasetti. Join me on a journey through the wonders of early India as we explore the centuries between Buddha and Ashoka with critical research, empathy, and great storytelling. Along the way, you'll hear from all the vibrant peoples who shaped our world, from monks and farmers to warriors and emperors. New episodes are out every Monday.